Hi, this is Noelle Starr with Sturdic's Wine Department, and with me, my wonderful colleague, Roger Clark. And we are going to talk about sparkling wine or quote-unquote champagne cocktails.
Yep.
So, do you want to maybe clarify for people the fact that champagne really is not the product you want to be using?
Well, champagne, in all of its beauty, what you're paying for is a lot of elements that are subtle. Elements of fruit and yeast, acidity, balance, those various things. And once you start adding virtually anything to that mix, you're going to lose what the subtleties are about. So it really doesn't make a lot of sense to spend $40, even in most cases $20, on a sparkling wine in order to be adding virtually anything to it to make a cocktail.
Right, and that's great news for people who want to do mimosas. They come in, they say, I'm here to make mimosas, I need a bottle of champagne, I'm going to put orange juice with it, and usually the wine staff will say,
yeah, don't do that. Don't do champagne. Right.
Okay, so we've got some recipes.
Yes.
I think we have a traditional recipe, we've got a little bit of a twist, and then we have something that I'm actually quite eager to try because I'm dying to see how this is going to turn out.
Well, yes, the first cocktail that we have is called just a champagne cocktail, and it involves a sugar cube in a chilled champagne flute, such as this. You put a couple of dashes of bitters along with that. The classics, Angostura, Peychaud's works very well. Fill the glass just kind of 2/3, just over half, with the Brut champagne, or Brut sparkling rather, and then squeeze just a little bit of lemon. The cocktail with the sugar sweetness, the bitters, and the lemon creates a really lovely combination of elements going there. For this, I think personally the Saint-Hilaire Blanquette de Lemieux, which the easy way of saying that or remembering that is that it comes from the very south of France. It is the home of sparkling wine. Champagne may have been the first ones to do it on purpose or market it as such. They may have discovered it accidentally, and it may have been that Lemieux was doing it commercially before that. That's an argument that will take scholars forever to figure out completely. But in any event, they did in fact experience sparkling wines even before champagne did. I love this because the clean, neutral elements to the base give all of those little things that you're adding to the cocktail a chance to stand out and really speak well on their own.
That sounds great. Well, and I think what's nice about this is you're getting a true French sparkling wine.
Yep.
Sits under $15 a bottle, and yet will complement your cocktail, and you could certainly sip it alone.
And of course it's delicious by itself too, for that person who might want to be a purist and drink it by itself.
Okay, so then for the cocktail with the twist, you've got a recipe for something that sits similar to a margarita, but has a little more character. Right,
and this calls for, it's called a Magna Carta, and it's 1.5 ounces of chilled tequila, 1 ounce of triple sec, which is probably a little heavier than what you'd do for a typical margarita, but gives it a nice deep orange sort of element, and then the juice of an entire lime, and then top that with sparkling wine. And what happens there is, again, everything just becomes elevated by that bubble. You taste the beauty of the orange, the tequila comes through in a subtle way, the lime is very, very refreshing, and for that I would actually suggest something like a Prosecco with its softer, creamier bubble. It's going to, again, let all of those elements really shine. Very refreshing. Should be just a very quaffable way to go.
And so the Prosecco is Italian, and the difference between this right now and the French that we've talked about is the fact that the second fermentation to create the bubbles for the Prosecco happened in tanks versus within this bottle that the French happened.
Ends up being a little less intense in its bubble. The creaminess of the fizz really enhances a lot of cocktails, but I think in this case really, really shines.
Okay, and now we're going to move on to the one that has me absolutely perplexed. But you told me it's going to taste good.
Well, I've read that it does so many times, and I've tasted it once, and it certainly did, so I'm going to go with that. It calls for a half full glass. I'm only going to do midgy pours of stout. Surdyk's beer department has graciously donated a lovely Sierra Nevada stout.
But you could use something like a Guinness or any other stout.
Any of those, and I encourage doing that because the subtle differences of all of those kinds of stouts will come out even more once you've added the bubbly.
So you're taking a beer,
Yep.
You're adding a sparkling wine, and you're telling me this is going to taste great.
And I add approximately half as much of this bubbly as the stout.
Okay.
Again, that's something, play with it. A stout has a lot of flavor. You could dilute this down a lot and it's still going to be intriguing. You could put just a tad of the bubbly in and it's going to do good things. But I'd start at about 2-to-1 stout to the bubbly.
And what did you pick for the bubbly for this?
This is Torre Oria Cava from Spain. The beauty of this is it has actually been aged on dead yeast cells and whatnot. The way traditional champagne is, it's going to have some maltiness to it, it'll have some yeasty elements, and those are going to plug right into what the stout has to offer.
That's delicious. It
Yeah.
keeps the heaviness of the beer from getting too far.
Yep, but
Certainly,
there's still plenty of depth.
Absolutely.
A little bit of fruit comes through that you wouldn't even have noticed here by itself or here by itself, but the two playing together.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Beauty.
All right, well, thanks, Roger. You can find all of these at our store, or you can go online at surdyks.com and order any of these. All of our sparkling wines are located in aisle 3, and certainly we have a massive beer selection as well. Thanks for joining us.